morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
I was going through the vault the other day, checking out some of the conversations I've had with so many of the folks who have enjoyed our Spirit of the West cruises with my wife Billy and me. And, oh gosh, I found some stories I don't think I've shared until now, like this one.
Got into the calving barn and she hit me and knocked me down, and by gum, if I didn't get my feet up on her front shoulders and my hands on her head, and she skidded me about 35, 40 feet. Then
That's a rancher and a good friend who, along with his wife, have cruised with us many times, and you'll get a little sense of what it's like sitting around with the folks who live the ranching life and have so much in common. And for those of you who've done what we've done a few times, gone out and bought a brand new frozen turkey for Christmas, and when you put it in the freezer, you saw a couple that you bought a few years ago and forgot about. Now what do? Well, Rangeland News can help.
We have had turkeys as old as 10 years.
And their owners are asking if those turkeys are safe to cook and serve.
On the Irvine Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a rider has a horse with an interesting past, and he's okay to ride, except he constantly tosses his head whenever the rider takes up slack in the reins. So we'll try and figure out what's causing that. And one of the finest modern-day writers and reciters of cowboy poetry, Brian Salmon, is in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight this week, and something rarely heard, you'll hear Baxter Black sing. And you'll also hear from our first guest after something from a fine young singer and songwriter that I met in Lubbock, Texas a few years ago. He plays a great resonator guitar, too. This is Andy Hedges.
Most of my life, ain't got no family and I ain't got no wife. Ain't got no kith and I ain't got no kin, and I always will finish whate'er I begin. I rode down in Texas where the cowboys are tall. The state's pretty big but their hosses are small. For singing to cattle I'm hard to outdo. I'm a high-loping cowboy and a wild buckaroo. I rode in Montana and in Idaho. I rode Fort Terraces in old Mexico. I rode mountain lions and grizzly bear, and I used cholla cactus for combing my hair. I crossed the dry desert, no water between, and I rode through Death Valley without no canteen. At riding dry deserts, I'm hard to outdo. I'm a high-loping cowboy and a wild buckaroo. Talk Spanish and Injun to boot, and I pack me a knife and a pistol to shoot. I got no senorita and I got no squaw. I ain't got no sweetheart nor mother-in-law. I never been tied to no apron strings. I ain't no devil but I ain't got no wings. At dodging the girls I'm hard to outdo. I'm a high-loping cowboy and a wild buckaroo. Well, I drink red whiskey and I don't like beer. I don't like mutton, but I do like try crawling on me. I'll fight you right now at the drop of a hat. You'll think you're sacked up with a scratching wildcat. At a rough, ready mixin', I'm hard to outdo. Well, I'm a high-loping cowboy and a wild buckaroo. Well, I'm a high-loping cowboy and a wild buckaroo.
With winter setting in, I thought we'd maybe warm things up a little bit and go back to one of our Spirit of the West cruises from a while ago. Our whole Spirit of the West gang were on Stone Island off the coast of Mexico. About 65 of us had just got back from riding Mexican horses along the beach, and next on the agenda was parasailing. And Alberta rancher Kim Bamber was looking for some company.
I just want to know if Billy was going to come with me on this parasail here.
And what did she say?
Not in your life. Nada.
Not in this lifetime.
Oh, that horse, you were asking me about the horse ride on the beach.
That was pretty good. I just kind of had a little bit of a knothead. It knew where it was going, and I guess I didn't.
Oh, yeah. It was, well, we had a little bit of a race with our bunch. And Dean Miller was out in front, and darn, I just couldn't catch him. He was just going as hard as he could.
It's called your head to tail, head to tail.
Pretty much, yeah. It was kind of neat, though, seeing the Spirit of the West gang all lined up there.
Oh, it was all right. And we had about 3 gangs of us out there, so we covered the beach pretty well.
That's good. So what's going on at home while you're down here enjoying yourself?
Well, we got some people running the ranch and some running a school bus, and everybody's doing good.
Have you heard anything from home since you've been here?
Oh, other than we just got about a foot of snow or something while we're here, but other than that, I think no news is good news.
That's right. That's right. So tell me a little bit about the place, the home place, what it's like, cow-calf operation, or how you run it.
Yeah, we got a cow-calf operation. There's around 300 cows, and we do about 4,500 acres total, and with a grain operation.
Right.
And go from there.
When does calving start for you?
We don't calve till May 1.
That's
we
nice.
We do it on the grass.
Is that something recent, or have you always done it that late?
No, about the last 4 years we turned into there. We used to be February, but
right.
Sleeping in the calving barn just isn't fun.
You know, that leads to some interesting situations and adventures. I know we've got our calving stories, and a lot of these folks have got their calving stories of heroics involved in saving a calf's life somewhere. You must have a pile of those too.
Well, there's the odd one, yeah. There's the odd one where you just got out by the hair of your skin from a cow trying to save her calf, and not you.
Yeah, and sometimes the cows just don't appreciate that.
No, that 2 7/8 sucker rod and pipe just doesn't have any mercy.
Coming up, a song that'll really have you thinking about Christmas in cattle country, and more from rancher Kim Bamber when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The song coming up is one you may not have heard before, but I think it could become a Western Christmas favorite if it got enough exposure. See what you think. Right now, the cows are fat, and hopefully they're all bred, and our calves should start arriving around March. Kim Bamber moved their calving dates up until May from February, and on the northern range that can make quite a difference, and he shared this calving episode.
Right. Ever any real close calls doing that?
Yeah, I had one cow that I was pulling a calf in about 2 in the morning, and the darn cow, I just got into the calving barn and she hit me and knocked me down, and by gum if I didn't get my feet up on her front shoulders and my hands on her head, and she skidded me about 35-40 feet, then good thing she gave up because I was done.
Oh my gosh. Now, was the calf okay?
Calf was good, yeah, got in the barn and everybody was okay, and no frozen ears, so it was a good night.
That's
good
for sure.
night.
Yeah. And is your summer pasture all adjoining, or do you have to haul cows out for summer grazing?
We haul little ways, but lots of times we just drive them to the next pasture, and there's about 4 or 5 of us farmers do it all, and we take turns driving each other's cows here and there, and we do all our branding on the horses now, and
yeah, it's
kind of like the old thrashing crew. You know, you get out there and everybody has a good time.
And we'll continue on with more thoughts from Kim in a couple of minutes. When I first listened to this song, as I was going through the music list for today, there just seemed to be something really good about it. And I found it running through my mind long after I heard it. See what you think of it. This is a group called Way Out West.
Well, the hands are all back from the lion shacks,
Summer pastures are covered with snow. Handmade gifts fill their saddle packs, all wrapped with ribbons and bows. Under a solstice moon they lope down to the ranch house of the brand. At the hitching post they dismount and enter hat in hand. Whoopie-tie-I-O, whoopie-tie-I-E. You can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle balls when the cow posts decorate the tree. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve. Well, Lefty's trusty Colt 6 guns both have handles that broke. As a gift, Slim made him new ones, hand-carved from hard mountain oak. No gift cost a leg or an arm. The gift of life gave all Christmas cheer. The toast to it came from their hearts. Despite stampedes, they'll greet a new year. Whoopie-tie-I-O, whoopie-tie-I-E. You can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle balls, you can hear jingle balls when the cow pokes decorate the tree. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve.
Well, we're a ways from branding season. That's one of my favorite times of the year, and I think a day spent heeling calves on a good horse is just about as enjoyable as it gets. More fun than fishing. And I talked with Kim Bamber about how great it is to see these neighborhood brandings, a great way to work with your neighbors and have some good socializing over a big branding lunch, and how it kind of reminds us of the old days of the thrashing crews at harvest time.
It's kind of like the old thrashing crew. You know, you get out there and everybody has a good time.
Isn't it kind of interesting the way some of these brandings have become kind of a social event, and it's maybe replaced some of that socializing that went on with the thrashing crews. I can remember my uncle was one of the last outfits around Millet there to still use a thrashing machine, and it was my job to stand on the wagon beside the thrash machine, pitch those bundles all day. But boy, when noon came and it was dinner time around that table, the stories got told and stuff.
The stories got told and the food, because I was pretty small in the thrashing crew, but boy, I remember those pies.
Yeah.
There's more food than I could ever eat.
Boy.
Yeah.
How do you find the food on the ship now?
Oh, lots.
It's not hard to find it, is it?
It's not hard to find. Every corner, every corner is something to do.
Well, it's great having you guys along, Kim, and you're just such a neat bunch of people that Billy and I just always look forward to this, because it's like going to camp or a high school reunion almost, you know.
Yeah, you get to know a pile of guys and a pile of guys you already knew, and it just makes it really good for the industry.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we all have so much in common. And in a week or so, we're going to be back in the snow. So we got to enjoy it while we can.
That's for sure. Yeah, no, we suck up the sun now.
That's for sure. Are you going parasailing?
Well, if I can talk Billy into it, we're off.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what your chances are for that. I'm not going.
Well, Kim went, Billy didn't. Irene Trost went, and when she came down, she landed on a picnic table on the beach, but she was okay. Anyway, that was sure a lot of fun. We got more stuff like that coming up today. And next you'll hear Baxter Black playing his old guitar and singing. And then it's the Rangeland News when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan with a little peek at the Johnny Cash version of Here by the Owl. What holds the loaded 30,000-pound trailer to the heavy-duty truck? What holds the 38-foot RV trailer to the dually? What holds the 2-horse trailer with your daughter's favorite pony to the half-ton pickup? Well, the odds are it's a B&W trailer hitch, probably a turnover bowl, American-made, employee-owned, customer-tuned, and proud of their part in America's greatness. B&W, holding things together down the road. This is dirt. We call it soil. This is work. Some call it toil. We make food from dirt and rain. We're the first link in the chain. I teach 'em how. Here by the owl. I take kids and turn 'em into people. I know each one in my class, and I want 'em all to pass. Each one is good at something, and we'll find it. That's just our way, the FFA. Some like showing livestock at the fairgrounds. Others like that tractor sound and the tilling of the ground. They use their brains and hands to get the job done. They're on their way, the FFA. This is dirt. We call it soil. This is work. Some call it toil. We make food from dirt and rain. We're the first link in the chain. I teach 'em how. Here by the owl. They might learn to weld or be a speaker, be a nerdy scientist or an ag economist, but most of all, a person of good character, so we can say they're FFA. This is dirt. We call it soil. This is work. Some call it toil. We make food from dirt and rain. We're the first link in the chain. I teach 'em how. Here by the owl. Eat your heart out, Johnny. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by B&W Turnover Bowl.
Looking for that ideal Christmas gift or stocking stuffer? How about a weekend pass to the 21st Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 16th to 19th, 2017. A terrific lineup of entertainers including Kevin David.
Early morning finds me out along the Great Divide. I stop and watch the prairie come alive.
Jay Snyder.
Imagine you're a cowboy, and breaking colts is what you do, and you've honed your skills for years and years, and other cowboys look up to you.
The one and only Ben Crane.
Dale and me with checking cows in Saskatchewan's sandy hills.
And so many more. There's the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops on everything from guitar playing to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com. And for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. The Rangeland News looks at how long a frozen turkey can stay in the freezer and still be safe to eat, and the fallout from the U.S. election, some changes in those radio frequency ear tags, and some up-and-coming pre-sort and bred cow and heifer sales, and much more. First, though, here's a group I always enjoy, Bud Maynard, Larry Venata, and friends, known as the Bunchgrass Band.
Cowboying is a state of mind, no matter where you're at. Might be some smoky old barroom or on your pony's back. Just remember when you're cussing and trailing them doggies home. You're thinking of some warmer place of where you'd like to roam. Just remember when you're searching, when you're out of place and time. You don't know where you're heading to, that cowboy state of mind. Cowboy is a state of mind, state of mind, state of mind. Cowboy is a state of mind when you're out of place and time. Cowboying is a state of mind when you haven't got a dime. You don't own a pickup truck, you're riding that old grub line. Your saddle is a good one that will last you your cowboy years. You haven't got a mortgage, no banker can cause you fear. Girl that stands beside you doesn't care for pearls or gold. Just as long as you treat her right, her love will never grow old. Cowboying is a state of mind, state of mind, state of mind. Cowboying is a state of mind when you're out of place and time. Just remember when you're searching, when you're out of place and time. You don't know where you're heading to, that cowboy state of mind. Cowboying is a state of mind, state of mind, state of mind. Cowboying is a state of mind when you're out of place and time. That cowboy state of mind.
Now the news of the rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West. We'll tell you what's new under the western sky right after this word from the cattlemen of Western Canada.
Beef cattle ranching is an important part of British Columbia's economy. Most ranches are family-owned, operated by second or third generation ranchers. Together they employ over 4,000 people, supporting communities and local businesses such as veterinarians, mechanics, truckers, and more. Beef cattle ranching truly provides economic stability to many BC communities.
Now, the Rangeland News, top of page 1. We've been cleaning up the barn and the shop and the garage over the last few weeks, and guess what we keep finding? A lot of things I bought thinking I might need them. I put them away, forget about them, and then go out and buy another one. And you know, the same thing happens in our deep freeze. Leading up to Christmas, we found some good buys on frozen turkeys. Took them home, and when we put them in the deep freeze, guess what? There's 2 more in there we forgot about. How long have they been in there? Probably for years. Are they still safe? Well, Gary Crawford checks with a food safety hotline expert.
Marianne Gradley with the hotline says the most frequent question they're getting right now is,
how long can you keep a turkey in the freezer?
And it still be safe, because people are starting to dig around in their freezers, finding frozen turkeys that may have been in there for a little while.
We have had turkeys as old as 10 years.
And their owners are asking if those turkeys are safe to cook and serve.
What we tell people is that a turkey will keep its best quality for a full year. After that, it will lose flavor or dry out.
But it's not a safety issue, it's quality, but even so.
I did have a lady call back one year who said that she had called us because she had a turkey that was 5 years old, and she decided to go ahead and cook it, and she said it was just fine.
But Marianne suggests you not serve that whole turkey for Thanksgiving, but save it for less important occasions. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
During the recent U.S. election campaign, Donald Trump vowed to either renegotiate or scrap the 1994 three-nation North American Free Trade Agreement under which Canada sends 75% of all its exports to the U.S. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said last week that if Americans want to talk about NAFTA, I'm more than happy to talk about it, a day after Canada's ambassador to the U.S. said Ottawa would be happy to renegotiate NAFTA. Trade envoy Donald McNaughton said that even if NAFTA was torn up, the 2 nations would be bound by the terms of the 1987 Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. the precursor to the trilateral deal which added Mexico, noting, "I can't imagine them wanting to do anything about the deal." A source with direct knowledge of Canadian government thinking said Ottawa saw only a small chance that Trump, who won the election of course, would move quickly on NAFTA since change it would require cooperation from pro-business Republicans in Congress. He has other priorities, such as ending illegal immigration. Is he really going to burn up political capital on a step that could damage his economy? Said the person who requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the situation. There is no sale on Tuesday, December 20th at the Kamloops or Kamloops BC Livestock Co-op, or one on December the 27th, but we will keep you posted on what's coming up. And if you're looking for bovine transportation, there is a complete list of cattle haulers on the co-op website, bclivestock.bc.ca. Another question that's being discussed around the coffee shops in cattle country: how will the election of Donald Trump affect the meat industry? Here's what the Steiner Group, who publishes the U.S. Daily Livestock Report, had to say. Longer term, no one really knows how this will play out. The only thing we have to go on are statements and positions taken by the president-elect during the election. Promises of heavy tariffs on imports, the erection of a physical barrier with one of the largest U.S. trading partners, the commitment to do away with NAFTA, no TPP, limits on free trade in order to stimulate domestic jobs, and other such commitments may have a significant detrimental impact on the meat industry. Economists can argue about the overall macro effects of such policies and what the general impact may be on the economy, but for livestock producers, the issue is much more parochial, and some livestock producers stand to lose more than others. Well, one of the frustrations ranchers in the northern climates have is the way colder weather affects plastic ear tags. Well, Alberta is now home to an internationally certified lab for testing the radio frequency ID tags used to track livestock across the value chain. The lab, located at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, Applied Research and Innovation Services Department in Calgary, is one of only 3 certified animal RFID testing labs in the world, and the only one in North America. It also is one of 2 labs capable of testing tags at temperatures of minus 35 degrees Celsius and below. There's a special stock cow and heifer sale going on at the Innisfail auction market on Friday, December the 16th, and then another horse sale Saturday, December 17th. Tax starts selling at 9 a.m. Horses start coming through at noon. Get all the information at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com. Okay, we're down to the final item, and there still is lots of reaction to the U.S. presidential election, and I just can't help but reflect back on some of the history of our neighboring country. The first president I can remember was Harry Truman, and the next election, I remember it clearly, was Taft and Eisenhower, with Ike, of course, winning. And then, of course, the Nixon-Kennedy debates, and I was also thinking of the assassination attempts there have been on some recent presidents. The one in recent memory, of course, was the one on Ronald Reagan, but thankfully he survived. But I can't help but think about what would happen if, say, Trump was at a public function and the Secret Service guys spotted someone with a gun. Would they holler in desperation, "Donald, duck!" And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Irvine Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, what's causing this horse to toss his head whenever the slack is taken out of the reins? Another song and a visit with another rancher when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Now, just ahead of the Irvine Saddle and Western Wear horse training file, this is from a fine album that came out this fall. And I played this song, just a few months ago, and so many of you have asked to hear it again, so here's Tom Cole from Chronicles and Alberta Blue.
Let me sing you a picture of an Alberta sky. It's as wide as the world. It's about twice as high. First the golden pink sunrise warms the land with its hue, and a new day begins, wrapped in Alberta blue. When the sun meets the mountains, those blue Rockies ignite, and an Alberta day becomes an Alberta night, and the northern lights dancing, oh, they shimmer and shine, and a big prairie moon rides a big prairie sky. Out on the plains, an old cowboy sings a song to his herd, and the stars hung on velvet twinkle with every word. Let me sing you a picture, and I swear that it's true. There's nothing as wondrous as Alberta blue. There's nothing as wondrous as Alberta blue.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Now, the problem with this horse is that whenever they take up the slack in the reins, the rider that is, the horse really starts tossing his head. And we'll see if we can figure out why and what to do about it. Experience the true spirit of the West at Canada's largest Western store, Irvine Tack and Western Wear. If you need a curb strap or a 4-star gooseneck trailer, you'll find it here. A saddle for every rider. Cutters, reiners, penners, trainers, work and ranch cowboys, ropers. They have over 1,200 in stock. And they have Western wear for the entire family. And how about a gift card as a Christmas stocking stuffer? Shop online at irvinesaddles.ca. Free shipping on orders of over $100. irvinesaddle.ca, 1-877-946-9494. Question. A listener acquired a 10-year-old gelding that was actually headed for a packing house. He says the horse is broke and friendly, but under saddle he tosses his head constantly in response to any pressure from the reins. He's tried a snaffle, bitless bridle, and a halter, and he suspects the horse was trained as a roping horse, probably wore a tie-down, and it seems like he really wants to get into the arena, go fast, and leave. And he sidles away whenever the rider starts to dismount. Okay, well, this behavior suggests he could have been an arena heading horse or possibly a calf rope and mount. The head tossing may be from the headgear and the bit he has had to wear in his previous life. Now, if the bit he's wearing with tension on the reins is really uncomfortable, a lot of horses will do some head tossing in protest. And one thing you might do is saddle him, put a snaffle bit on him, and just loop the reins loosely over the horn and turn him loose in a round pen and observe. If he moves around comfortably without tossing his head, try to adjust the reins so there's a little tension on them, and if he tosses his head then, I think you've got to work on riding him in a controlled situation with little or no contact on his mouth for a while. A good fitting Bozal might be the most comfortable headgear for him, but again, make sure you ride using legs and seat and as little rein contact as possible. And one other thing I'd suggest is making sure the saddle is a good fit. I've seen a few cases where the head tossing had nothing to do with the headgear, but the saddle was pressing into the horse's shoulder blades. And as Martin Black says, different headgear might make a difference, but it's the hands holding the reins that produces the response, and it can be negative or positive. Something we really appreciate is what Hoffman's Horse Ration does for our horses, one feeding a day, and they're looking great. Find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. And that's the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Saddles and Western Wear. Looking for that ideal Christmas gift or stocking stuffer? How about a weekend pass to the 21st Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 16th to 19th, 2017. A terrific lineup of entertainers including Kevin David.
Early morning finds me out along the Great Divide. I stop and watch the prairie come alive.
Jay Snyder.
Imagine you're a cowboy, and breaking colts is what you do, and you've honed your skills for years and years, and other cowboys look up to you.
The one and only Ben Crane.
Hailing me with checking cows in Saskatchewan, Sandy Hill.
And so many more. There's the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops on everything from guitar playing to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com. And for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Richard and Charlotte Preston are good friends of ours, and they've run cattle for many years in the shortgrass prairie country around Hanna, and it's a lot different than the jack pine jungles where our cows forage for the summer. But as Richard told me on a recent Spirit of the West cruise, that part of the country has an appeal all its own.
Oh, definitely. It's got its own appeal. There's things about the short grass that we don't equate to when we talk about to you guys that are in the timber and stuff like that. Everything's flat. There's the coulees where the creeks go, but we get around a lot easier than you do. We don't have to shod our horses and things like that. We can, and we cheat a little bit, quite a bit actually. You use the truck or the quad or whatever. So, but it's a changing way of life on the range. So you can't expect to have the same conditions that you had back in the 1900s when guys first started coming in. So, you still accept it. It's still ranch life.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you're using a different kind of equipment.
Yeah, and there are, certainly efficiencies in using some of the modern ways of doing things that can save you a huge amount of time. And I was always against quads, and I refuse to move cows on a four-wheeler. I won't allow a four-wheeler on my place, but we've even found that in the last couple of years, gathering cattle out of these big range permits that are suitable for nothing more than cattle grazing and logging, and it's mountainous, semi-alpine, but there are logging trails and skid trails all through there, that a lot of guys they'll put their horse in the front of their trailer and the quad in the back, and they'll drive up a logging road till they can't drive anymore. Then they'll unload the quad and they'll go around these logging trails, and they can make a lot of miles, and they'll locate the cattle with the quad, which would have taken half a day on a horse. And then they'll come back and put the quad in the trailer and go out on their horse and move the cattle. So, I'm starting to come around on that.
Exactly. And with our system that we've got out there, we've got some intensive grazing, some just open grass. So, and this grass has all been reseeded into native. It was cultivated land. At one time we grew grain on it, but then it got turned into back to native grass. And the grass comes up good. There's times when she's stirrup high. So
wow. Is there any prairie wool left out there?
Oh yeah, we have about a third of our range is still prairie wool.
The original
prairie wool never had a plow to it.
Wow.
So
is that fairly delicate, or will it stand heavy grazing?
It's tough, but if you overgraze it, the sage comes into it, and then it takes 5 or 6 years to get rid of it. So you have to be careful. It's a management thing there too.
Can you cut it for forage?
We did when I was young. We cut some, but it seems that these, the last, 20, 30 years, that's kind of gone by. The climate has changed enough, or maybe it's not the climate, I don't know, but the conditions are such that really you can't cut it anymore.
And as you may know, our next Spirit of the West cruise heads up the Inside Passage to Alaska on June the 17th, 2017, aboard Holland America's MS Noordam, a beautiful ship. Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway, Glacier Bay, Denali National Park, the McKinley Railway, and Anchorage, just a few of the places we'll see. And by the time you hear this, our allotment of cabins might be completely sold out. But you'll find out if we have any left by calling the toll-free number 1-800-530-0131. And now here's a guy who's been a fixture around the Kamloops Cowboy Festival for many years, Abe Zacharias.
He raised himself up in the stirrups, held the reins loose in his hands, leaned on the horn of the saddle well worn as he gazed at the rich meadowland. He headed due west on a cow trail which circled the old Johnson place. Was a shortcut around to his ranch near the town, where he'd soon see his sweet Jenny's face. He remembered the night that he'd met her at a hoedown in the old country hall. He had hastened the chance to ask her to dance, and they whirled to the square dancer's call. They were married that spring after roundup, and they worked side by side every day. There were 300 head on their small valley spread, which they built as their dream hideaway. His arms held her tight when he kissed her, then he handed to her all aglow a buckle so fine with two hearts intertwined, and the name of their ranch just below. He remembered the night that he'd met her at a hoedown in the old country hall. He had hastened the chance to ask her to dance, and they whirled to the square dancer's call. He remembered the night that he'd met her at a hoedown in the old country hall. He had hastened the chance to ask her to dance, and they whirled to the square dancer's call.
Coming up, we'll dig out a classic song of the West and the story behind it, and then the one and only Brian Solomon in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. For this week's classic song of the West, we're going to bring you some of the best Texas swing around. This one was written by Diane Johnson, who actually wrote some songs for Gene Autry. The best-known version of the song was probably done by the king of Texas swing, Bob Wills, and the Texas Playboys. And I was thinking that Ernest Tubb recorded it too. And he may have, but I think I'm getting it confused with another song Ernest did with an identical melody called Drivin' Nails in My Coffin. Now, this song was actually recorded as a demo around 1950, and the song didn't really see the light of day until Asleep at the Wheel's Ray Benson and producer Tommy Alsop discovered it at Hank Thompson's publishing company in the mid-70s. Asleep at the Wheel recorded it for their great 1976 album Wheelin' and Dealin'. I saw miles and miles of Texas.
Oh, yeah. It's a little bit all about miles and miles of Texas, down on the old bayou, raised on trips of catfish, mammy's good gumbo. I got the rambling fever, said fight 'em all and fall. Cross that old Red River, this is what I saw. I saw miles and miles of Texas, all the stars up in the sky. saw miles and miles of Texas. Gonna live there till I die. Jason. I rode up into Austin, the cradle of the West. Just ask any cowboy to tell you it's the best. I met a Texas beauty, I got friendly with her pa. Looked into her big blue eyes, this is what I saw. I saw miles and miles of Texas, all the stars up in the sky. I saw miles and miles of Texas, gonna live there till I die. I started taming broncos, I made every rodeo, until I met a tough one, his name was Devil Joe. When I grabbed hold of his bridle just to ride this old outlaw, he threw me from the saddle, boy, this is what I saw. I saw miles and miles of Texas, all the stars up in the sky. I saw miles and miles of Texas, gonna live there till I die. All right now. Oh, now that old home stretch. I saw miles and miles of Texas, I'm gonna live there till I die.
Yeah, that's what I call Western Swing live from a live performance. Ray Benson and the fantastic Asleep at the Wheel. And now here's one of my very favorite rhymers, writers, and reciters, Brian Salmond, reflecting on the creative process that goes into a good piece of cowboy poetry.
The pencil stood there staring at a blank and empty page. No rhyming lines of new ideal awaiting for the stage. For the poet's aging mindset, his busy life and such, procrastination all the time, he hadn't written much. But every morn when he'd awake, in the twilight of his mind, were dancing lines of prose and wit, the rare and precious kind. And he'd grasp at these all through the day, but never write a word. No evidence of what he sees and nothing he had heard. For his image of the Rockies with pristine valleys wide, or Mother Nature's garden spots, he couldn't quite decide. He'd ponder on a pack horse wreck all spread across the west, or take you to a Brandon pen, just who could rope the best. Then pause a bit and reminisce in Western cowboy code. His eyes will tear in deep respect to horses he has rode. Then he takes off on a tangent about the country way of life, of quiet times about the ranch, his family and his wife. The best dang dog he ever owned, his old red pickup truck, or throwing fate into the wind and trusting to your luck. The ropings and the range wrecks are things that he could write, or dancing to an old-time waltz or cabin through the night. The bullfights and the bronc rides were out there mowing hay, wire cuts and heartbreaks when old bad luck had its way. His pen could take you on a trip to a quiet mountain brook and show you where the big ones are and even bait your hook. Then sit and share a cup of life with the aging and the wise, and write it down before it's gone, amidst our very eyes. Let's harness up the black team and hook 'em to the sleigh, and hear the jingle of the tugs on a frosty winter day, the straw blow of the thrashers, the stooks and bundle racks, of summer rains, yet years so dry the earth was showing cracks, and pen some words of laughter, some verses with a smile. Then capture what I've seen or done in cowboy poet style. I'd love to write of all these things for each and every one, And someday soon, it's in my plans to up and get her done.
Ah, that sweet steel guitar there, played by the great Bo Hughes. Well, thank you so much for making the ride this week, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And thanks again to our great support crew. That would be Mark and Kathy McMillan. And you know, if you're looking for tractor and machinery parts, now Mark can sure help you find them. Just check out his website, www.bctractorparts.com. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.